Hello everyone, welcome to Plant Group 10 for HOR 160 Plant Materials 1. Let's go ahead and get started with plant number 1, which is your Kira japonica. All plants are located on main campus this week, so that makes the collection trip a lot easier for your guys. So once you're on campus for another class, just kind of skip around on campus and collect your plants. Here is your Kira japonica. You'll also notice that it is in full bloom right now. It's down in the Heart's Garden. It's a big, puffy, almost the size of a arts and craft ball that you can buy. Just a round, puffy little ball that you do arts and craft with. Absolutely beautiful, stunning. So make sure you get down to Heart's Garden and see it. And then this leaf on the Kira japonica. It is very distinct, and I'm gonna pull one off and hold it up for you. But you'll always remember that Kira japonica. Absolutely beautiful. So plant number 1 is your Kira japonica. Plant number 2 is your Pinus Mugo, or your Mugo pine. It's more like it's like a shrub for pine trees. So it's absolutely beautiful. Used in rock gardens, around water. It just looks awesome. Please note that it has 2 clusters or 2 needles in a cluster. But that is plant number 2, your Pinus Mugo. It's over on the retaining wall right outside of horticulture. Plant number 3 is your Pinus strobus, your white pine. Now, there was a tree along the retaining wall that's going into the Strickland Center, and they just did cut it down. But those apartments right across the Strickland Center that's on Oak Grove, it's on the corner of Oak Grove and Miller Street. Those apartments there, they have a lot of white pines there. The one up closer to the ATM machine, you'll probably be able to get a sample. But in the location video, I showed you the white pines right there on Miller Street. These have 5 needles in a cluster. Your white pine or Pinus strobus. Pinus Tata is a cluster of 3 needles. And so I didn't want to take much off of the sample that we have there in horticulture, but this is where we get our, we get our pine needles from. Loblolly pine, your Pinus Tata. You'll also use pine straw for longleaf needles, but this is your Pinus Tata, your loblolly pine. Plant number 5 is your Prunus Laura Sierras Shipka, or your skip laurel. They've been butchered by hedge clippers. It's just one of those things to do it. Make sure you pay close attention to our sample sheet when you compare this to the Ottalucan. Skip laurels are used quite a bit, not as much as the Ottalucans. In fact, where these are planted along the tech building, we should have planted Ottalucans. Your skip laurels just get bigger, and they're used more so for screening versus the Ottalucan. So Ottalucans would have done better there. But there is a 1 leaf sample, and here is your group sample of the skip laurel. So that was plant number 5. I'm actually looking at my list here on the phone. And plant number 6 is your Ottalucan cherry laurel. And here's a nice little cluster of it. Got the tassel flowers, it's getting ready to open up. So a very beautiful plant. If you're familiar with Joe's Landscaping off 421, Mr. Marion is known for growing these Ottalucans. One year, my dad said that he threw away, a couple 100,000 of these due to cold weather where we had a hard freeze. They dug a big hole and pushed them in the hole and buried them. But this is your Ottalucan cherry laurel, and I'm pulling a leaf off right here. So this is your cherry laurel, plant number 6, and I'm grabbing a plant number 5, the skip laurel. They look a little identical side by side. The Ottalucan is a little bit darker, and the skip laurel is a little bit lighter. Your Bradford Pear is in full bloom right now, and I have a sample right here. and it's also got its leaves opening up. So you're able to see this behind the old horticulture building on main campus. But you got the white bloom, and then you've got this little almost perfectly round leaf. Now this is a juvenile leaf. It's going to darken up, and it's going to get a little bit darker green and get a little more waxy looking here in the next few weeks. But it's a good time of year to see this with the leaf opening and a little bit of the blooms remaining. Now, Bradford pears have been forbidden in a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of municipalities. You can't plant them anymore just due to damage by ice and storms and everything else. But there are some good cultivars out there. Cleveland Select is one of the cultivars that is still okay to use. They're more sturdy, they're more hardy, and they're not susceptible to wind and ice damage. But a lot of municipalities will not let you plant the crepe myrtles. We had our neighbor plant some next door to our farm, and the birds have transplanted numerous Bradford pears in our pasture, and we continually have to fight them. The Bradford pear will revert back to the old pear that'll have the thorns on it, and you'll see that a lot in pastures. That was plant number 7. And then plant number 8 is your Rhaphiolithus indica, or your Indian hawthorn. Blooms in pink and white, is very susceptible to a fungus, and so a lot of nurseries have quit growing them. Kind of saddening that that happens, because this is one of my favorite plants to use in the landscape. It's just unfortunate that the fungus is taking it over. So, but blooms white and pink, and a very beautiful plant used extensively with crepe myrtles and loropetalums. That was kind of the ticket back in the early 2000s. Those 3 plants put in a group. So anyway, guys, that concludes plant group 10, and I'll see you in the next lecture.